one of our values also change is the only constant, right? Because the customer is changing, industry is changing, or the environment is changing. So we need to embrace the change. Even we will lead the change. If there is no one we can follow, we will lead the change.
Today we're talking with Maggie Zhou, Managing Director of Alibaba Australia and New Zealand. Maggie started her career at Alibaba as employee number 48 back in 2000 and served as Jack Ma's executive assistant for nearly 5 years. She then co-founded the Taobao marketplace in 2003, the world's biggest e-commerce website and 7th most visited website in the world, according to Wikipedia. Maggie was appointed Alibaba Group Managing Director for Australia and New Zealand back in March 2016 and is responsible for building the business here. Today we'll be talking about Alibaba's growth, the Taobao journey, what it was like to work with Jack Ma, and Alibaba's focus here in Australia. And just quickly before we get started, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you get the latest episodes as soon as they're released. Now, let's get into it. Welcome, Maggie.
Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. Fantastic. I'm very excited about this podcast because there's so much I want to know about Alibaba. And what's interesting is that you started 21 years ago almost. Is that right?
Yes. Next month, January 3rd, will be my 21 years anniversary in Alibaba. Yeah, it's really excited about that.
So you've seen a lot of change. I mean, Alibaba started as just like an idea 22 years ago. Now it's one of the biggest companies in the world. What was that journey like?
Well, Alibaba, actually, in my last 21 years in Alibaba, I really feel very proud in this company. And the thing is, the company is a quite different company and set up the vision at the first day. The thing is that this, our mission is to make easy to do business anywhere, has never changed even till today. And, Jack Ma, our founder, he's an idealist. Right. So this company is really a dream-driven company. So I like that. So, I can, still work in this company for so long time, still keep my passion in this company.
Well, here's some interesting stats, right? And again, this is just the stuff I found online. The Alibaba it's the world's largest retailer and e-commerce company. It's one of the largest internet companies. It's the 5th largest artificial intelligence company. It's one of the biggest VC firms. It's one of the biggest investment corporations in the world. It also hosts the largest marketplaces in the world, from the B2B perspective, which is Alibaba, the C2C perspective, which is Taobao, and the B2C perspective, which is the TMall marketplace. And its online sales have surpassed pretty much all of the US retailers, including Amazon and Walmart plus eBay combined since 2015. That's a lot.
Alex, this company, I just don't want to make people confused. So many business in Alibaba, the whole family.
Right.
We started actually from B2B business in 1999. That is Alibaba.com. We help a lot of small, medium-sized company to sell their products to all over the world. We started from China, to help the SMEs. In China, actually, more than 90% the business is a small, medium-sized company. And they actually lack of the resources, lack of the network. So that we started from that to help them. But now, actually, this B2B business is now help all the SMEs around the world. You want to expand your business to all over the world, right? So if even in Australia today, we also see that it's really a great opportunity even after COVID, because that you can have the very just a lower entry to step into. But now Alibaba is not only just that one business. So that's what you mentioned. We have the B2B and the C2C and B2C business. That's a core business. And then we have the online business, but also we have the new retail, online, offline combined together. So e-commerce part, entertainment part, and lifestyle part, the local lifestyle. All these platforms supported by payment, Alipay, cloud, Alibaba cloud business, and also Cainiao logistics. And also we have the Alimama advertising platform. You call Alibaba, and also we have the Baba Mama the pair, right? So today Alibaba is in the digital economy. And we really think that the digitalization will be the future opportunity for many businesses.
And there's so many parts which we're going to talk about with exactly what you just said, which I'm very excited about because I have lots of questions, which I'm sure that lots of others do as well. But let's start at the very beginning. So how was it like in the very beginning? Because it was just an idea and you were employee number 48. So what was it like, at the time when you first started?
When Alibaba started in 1999, we started from B2B, and people maybe today don't know there is also B2B business in US that called Ariba, and now it's actually disappeared. But that is, it's totally different model. The Alibaba B2B model actually is generated by Alibaba, created by Alibaba itself. Because in the Ariba in US, many business in China, you will see those internet companies. Some of the model is from US, but the Alibaba is originally generated by Alibaba. So Ariba, that B2B business in US, that actually they serve the giant company, big company, want to help them to save the cost. But, a lot of just the SMEs, and at that time, when I mentioned more than even 95% of the business in China is SME. They don't need you to help them to save the cost. They know much better than you to how to save the cost. Actually, they lack of the resources, don't know where to find the buyers, right? So we just focus on for the SME to create the platform for buyer and the seller can meet together online to help them find the buyer around the world. So that's, I think, is a really different that our model. And Alibaba, people are so curious about why is the name Alibaba? And Alibaba, is from the very famous story, right? Yeah, and lucky and happy youth also found the fortune in the cave, right? And the code open sesame, right? Open sesame and then open the door and you can find a lot of fortune in the cave, right? But Alibaba really wants to have the open sesame online code for the SMEs. And then when you open the door online, you find a fortune online. Yeah, that's our idea on that. And, it's Alibaba is interesting. It's the early days when you just build up the business. The website, the URL, the name is very important. If you spell it wrong, it'll maybe go to other website, right? But very interesting, Alibaba, whatever is Chinese pinyin or the English, the spelling is OALIBAB, Alibaba. It's the same. Perfect. No one will spell it wrong. Yeah.
So how hard was it in the beginning then to get the traction, because now it's got over 122,000 employees. Back at the time was like 48 and it was just an idea at the beginning of the internet. How easy was it to grow in the beginning?
I think it's really not easy, right? But, we started from English website. Actually, it's for those actually doing the international trade, right? And if those small, medium-sized company, they found it's really useful, and they will spread mouth by mouth, right? And actually, at that time, Alibaba was not famous in China, but actually, it's already a lot of people know about in America. Many buyers that they found, it's really there's a website in China can help them to find the suppliers. So, many people didn't know in China about Wall Street journalists already got that and flew to Hangzhou to find what kind of company, a website just behind the computer, right? So that's I think is a very interesting early stage.
So I remember because I've been in the digital marketing game since 2001, and about 2004 there was some course I did, and they were talking about how to go to China to import stuff to sell on the internet. And Alibaba seems to have solved this gap between just being able to get product from China in an easy way to international places.
Yeah. So we founded 1999. 1999 in China. Is what is the internet? Internet, we call internet bubble. Internet bubble, but Jack said the bubble, the beer, that is the bubble, is the most best thing, right? But 1998, very hot internet in China is Soho, NetEase, is those that actually is a portal model, right? And one day, the founder of Yahoo, Jerry Yang, and he met Jack, and they have a conversation. Jack and asked Jerry, say, what do you want to say? I want to do. He said, I just want to do a portal. And what do you want to do, Jack? And Jack said, I want to do business. So business maybe. At that time, also NetEase doing the gaming, right? So Jack said it's a business will be the long-lasting gaming for people who want to play, right? So they just started that idea, want to do on the internet, doing the business, helping people to doing the business.
And so when did things start to really change? Because, I mean, you went from 48 and then you went to 500 to 1,000 to 2,000 to 10,000 up to 122,000 staff, So how long did it take for Alibaba to really start to see traction, to really start to grow quick?
I think different stage, different growth, right? Alibaba, today people say, Alibaba, you're already successful, but we actually experienced a lot of just difficulties, adversity, and many other people maybe they also experienced. We experienced the same.
Like
right?
what?
So internet bubble, right? That's 2000. Actually started the internet winter, and many business even like so. At that time there is a B2C model. Today we have the TMall, right? 2000 already have a B2C model that is the AA4A, but today is also no other, and the company is still there. No, maybe started too early. Sometimes when you just create the business at the right time is also very important, right? So at the internet, when bubble comes, it's really very hard for Alibaba as well. And we got the investment in 1999, $5 million from Goldman Sachs, from Invest AB, several investor went together, gave Alibaba $5 million. So that's the first fund. But it's burn the money is very, very fast, right? And when internet bubble comes, many people suffered about that. Same did Alibaba. So we actually changed our strategy. Before that internet winter, Alibaba is all the business is free of charge, right? And just want to attract more traffic, and people gather together, and then later we'll find some the model for revenue, right? So it's really winter is very hard, so we change our strategy. Our strategy is B2C, but that is not the business model B2C. B2C means the back to coast. You mean in China, coast area, those business, the small, medium-sized business they develop better than the West, right? So we're back to coast, back to center. Before, actually, we at that time we also had a headquarters in Shanghai. Many internet business they put their headquarters in Beijing, Shanghai. But it's too crowded, and people won't notice you, right? So actually, Alibaba founded in Hangzhou, very quiet city. So Jack said, back to center. We just to our the basic in Hangzhou. Yeah. So that is a B2C business. We just protect us much better, and also very early stage we recruit a lot of engineer with a very high salary from Silicon Valley, right? But actually, and this Reddit is you don't need a Boeing 747 engine, right? At that stage, right? So we just let them back to Silicon Valley. We just focus on what we can focus to serve the target clients better at that time. And also we want to save the cost internally. Like you turn off the light when you go home, you print on double side, all the things, and to just we want the target at that, the goal is at that year, just we want to be survive, just earn $1, 1 RMB. That means that just if you spend 1 million, you need to earn $1 million and $1, right? So everyone feel that is maybe I save $1 cost. I will help the company to earn the money. If we just to have more clients on the platform, maybe I'm the one to help the company to earn $1. Everyone has the ownership and the responsibility. And then
how long did it take for that to happen?
How long?
Be profitable? Yeah, how long did it take? Because obviously, like, you had to change pretty quick. There was the bubble crashed. It was the beginning of winter. How long did it take to be profitable after that point? To make that $1 in profit.
That year,
the 1 RMB.
$1. We that year actually we earned even 500,000 RMB. Yeah, so that is every year. And then the next year we sold $1 the whole year, and then just $1 every day. Yeah, so this have the different target, and every year we just realized very well, even this exceed our expectation.
Yeah, fantastic. And then you floated for the first time in 2009 in Hong Kong. You IPO'd in 2009, which was the first public listing. And then again, you did another public listing in the US in 2014. Yeah. And so there was a lot of growth that happened in that, from the internet winter through the global financial crisis, past that point, there was a lot of growth. How did that change the company?
IPO actually always not our goal. Yeah. So actually the first time we IPO'd is 2007 in Hong Kong. That's for B2B business.
2007. Sorry, I got the date wrong.
Yeah, no worries. But Jack actually, have those also those target at the beginning and say we will be the listing company. But some of the employee maybe could not wait for that and leave, right? But 2007 is already 8 years Alibaba started, right? So when we just IPO'd, very people just say, oh, we eventually IPO'd, right? And some people maybe think, oh, maybe I can just have a relax. So Jack actually he's always the person think different with others. When people is very optimistic, and he will feel worried. And when you feel upset, he always encourage you, right? So when the first time when we IPO'd in Hong Kong, he sent an email to everyone. Said this is the biggest crisis for Alibaba. Because if you feel that you can rest, you can relate, maybe that is the biggest crisis for a company. So IPO is not is not the goal. It is you cannot stop. It is a stop for you to add fuel, and to go ahead, give you energy, and then you will go ahead, will be much stronger, more confidence to go, right? So that is the one thing. And the thing also, what Jack actually, what I mentioned, he always think is different. Second year after we IPO'd is 2008, is a global financial crisis come, right? So all the company was suffered for those global financial crisis. And the people also in the company, some will be very upset. What's the future, right? And Jack sent another email to all the employees, say, this is the great opportunity for Alibaba to take our responsibility to help out those SMEs, to create the value for them. Because Alibaba actually, we actually still have that enough cash, and we can do more things. When people maybe suffered, we may, to put our resources to help them together to confront those difficulties. So that we put out our Spring Thunder plan to support those SMEs. Something is really something like this year. When COVID come, we also put out our Spring Thunder 2.0 version, support our SMEs to give them support like annual fee, like financial those loan, and to support them, right? So that is, I think, from Jack Ma's leadership, you will feel that he's a very inspirational people and always will inspire people at that time, at the right time. Give you energy, and you will feel full of energy and just to strive for the future, to help our customers. It really can gather together, unify together to help our clients.
And how did he do that with so many staff? Because he sounds like a very inspirational leader, but I would say by the time he went public, there was like a lot of people in the company. So how did he maintain that inspiration, the drive across everyone?
So when I mentioned at the first where we talked, this company is a dream-driven company. So we actually built up our value system in the very early stage, 2000 year. We actually have our senior executive, COO, who was from GE. And GE also is very famous about they build up the value system, right? So we learned from that and build our own value system. And those value actually was in our blood, DNA for Alibaba at the early stage, but we haven't summarized that. And then we build up those the value system. And then, when company only have 18 founders or maybe 100 people, it's easy to have the people have the same value. But when the company is already 100,000, more than 100,000, even today is 200,000 employee number or employee, it's hard, as what you said. It's hard to have the people have the same value, right? So we actually put those those value system into our performance review. Performance review, 1%, and one part is the business performance review. The other part is the value side. But value side, some people will say, it's really like a not solid one. How can you measure that, right? So we have very specific, the explanation for each value have 4 points, will be the higher and higher standard. But if you want to get a higher score, and that the staff yourself have the example, and the leader also need to have the example to prove that you have got that. And those conversation between the staff and the leader to talk about the value actually is also the process when you emphasize the value of the company. And what's the difference between the staff and the leader also help people to understand the value better, right? So those value is not just talk, but actually those example from your daily work and what's your behavior and reflect the value. So we really want to find a group of people have the same value. That would be really the DNA for the culture of Alibaba, can help the company. We want to this company to long last for 102 years, right? So that's just really the core thing we need to go.
So yeah, that was going to be my next point actually, which is perfect. A perfect segue. The vision for Alibaba has recently changed to be a company that lasts at least 102 years.
Yeah.
Before it was to enable commerce, and now it's changed to last 102 years. Why the change?
And we actually, this just due to Alibaba's history, Alibaba founded in last century, 1999, 1 year. This century, 100 years. If we can still survive just one more year in the next century, we will be a company spanning for 3 centuries with the highest efficiency. And that's really very specific goal, can give the confidence to the staff. But now actually we change a little bit as that to be a good company, long lasting for 102 years. We don't want this company to be a strong company. We just want to be a good company. So good company thinks that we really want to create the value for our customer, create the value for our community, right? So that is the work, is for the business for goodwill, right? To be a good company, even the social, corporate social responsibility we would do, right?
Yeah.
So that's our vision.
So what has changed in the company since you changed the vision? Because now you have to change everything to last 102 years. Is like it's a big vision, you know. That's a lot of. You have to look into the future far, far away now, into where everything will change into, while not forgetting about the current. So what's changed in the company since you changed the vision?
The company, I think the business grow better and better, right? And we have grown from one business and now digital economy with different businesses. And many business, you may find some comparable in other company, but that is just one independent business. But in Alibaba, those business combined together is really 1 + 1, even bigger than 3, can generate the chemical effect, right? To help the clients, right? So business, I think, is a change is because that one of our values also change is the only constant, right? Because the customer is changing, industry is changing, or the environment is changing. So we need to embrace the change. Even we will lead the change. If there is no one we can follow, we will lead the change for our customer as well. So business actually always will keep changing, just according to different format. Even today, we grow is for 21 years, still a long journey need to go, right? So Jack also mentioned, we started some part of the business, and Jack actually a few years ago mentioned in the next 3 decades, 5 news will change the world. New retail, new manufacturing, new finance, new technology, new energy. We started new retail. So like it's a Hema Fresh, right? It is online, offline combined together. And core of the new retail is the customer experience, right? And we just this year launched a new manufacturer. New manufacturing actually, it's really a different way. Maybe the last few centuries, the business is B2C. It's the manufacturer just manufacture the things and supply to you, right? But today the demand is even, it's bigger, right?
Yeah.
And even different people have a different demand. So supply sometimes could not meet the customer's demand, right? In the future, the model should be C2B. So it's from consumer generated. What's the demand from consumer, and the manufacturer manufacture the things and supply to the market. And how can you do that? Actually, today, all that is a data intelligence can help the manufacturing to manufacture the better thing. So last century, the B2C supply chain is that standard and also big scale, but C2B maybe is customized, and small scale can be customized due to the data intelligence, understand the consumer behavior better, right? And supply better, right? So this is the kind of things I think is will keep changing. But what Alibaba won't change, I think, is our value. Our value will not change because that is the DNA to gather a really a different. I think it's not different per se. It has the same culture, same value, and you can work together even more efficient, right? And to get the goal and the vision for the future.
So you have the number one side in B2B, you have the number one site in B2C, and you have the number one site in C2C. Now you're creating a whole new category, C2B, consumer to business. I really like the thinking, and I really like how far ahead you're thinking. And also, I understand more now the importance of the digital economy and controlling as many of the parts of it as you can, because then you have the data and you have the supplies and you have the logistics and you have all the parts, and then you can offer consumers a much better experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also you have the resources now too, because it's almost a $1 trillion company. And so it's not exactly that. It changes all the time, but it's a very, very successful company. But let's jump back now, back, 2003. You became one of the co-founders of Taobao. What led to that opportunity?
Interesting. At that time, before 2003, Alibaba is always doing the B2B business. We have the Alibaba.com, it's English version. And then we have the Chinese version, just for domestic business, B2B business. In 2003, it is a competition with the eBay China. Yeah, so eBay China, they have a business called EachNet. They know EachNet in China now anymore. And we just found that actually is what we think that if we don't do the C2C, and eBay will do the B2B. Yeah. So, and we just want to find a lot of people also had that need, right? So we started Taobao, but very interesting. We 9 people from Alibaba team was selected, and we were invited one by one into a meeting room. Say we will have a new project, but what's the project? I cannot tell you now. You need to sign the confidential contract with the company, and then we will let you know. But this project maybe will be success, but maybe will fail. fail, maybe you will leave the company. Anyway, if you can sign it, just join the team. Yeah. So all the people actually, no doubt, no hesitation. And also English version of the legal is complicated. No one just believe the company and then just sign it, and then we join that. And we went to the apartment, Jack Ma's apartment, which started Alibaba.com before. So that Jack is an apartment now today is still there. It's like an incubation for all the business there. So we have those startup spirit in that area and start a new project. So competition with eBay is really it's a not easy one.
No.
But it's also full of excitement because we are actually competed with a giant. So competition is really like a play with fun, right? When you just win a small battle, and we will be very excited, right? And have a small celebration for that, right? So at that time, it's a very memorable days. And we actually did different with eBay China, right? They actually, at that time, they had already more than 95% the market share. We just started from zero and competing with them. And then we started from the service free of charge. And people say, maybe you won the battle because you provide the service free of charge. But that actually was not the reason. Jack actually required us doing the service free of charge better than the charged service. Right. And very important in China, people actually have the habit when they shopping, they want to have a bargain, right? Want to chat with you, even that they got nothing at the end. They just enjoy the process for bargaining, right? So for those things, online shopping is a different experience. So it's hard, for people to bargain, right? So we at that time, very important one is that we create the instant messenger in Taobao platform. So allow the buyer and the seller can talk freely, instantly. And then the other thing is actually is Alipay. At that time, 2003, people shopping online is really lack of the trust. So if I sell the things to you, you think so, how can if I could not get the products, what should I do? Right. I may just doubt, how can I get the money? Right. So those hesitation will stop the shopping. Right. So we built up the 2004 that we launched the Alipay. That is the original intention is that to provide the escrow service. So when I just sell the products to you, I could not get the money immediately. You write the money to Alipay, and Alipay hold the money and tell me, we got the money. You can deliver the products to the buyer. And when you got the products, you tell Alipay, oh yeah, I got it. And this product is really the same as what described on the Taobao platform, right? Okay, you happy? And then wire the money to the seller, right? So that is really the escrow service, because at 2003, 2004, China, more than 80% people, they don't have credit. They didn't have credit card. Yeah. So no credibility, right? So we using those escrow service to build up the credibility. So that's a really very important thing to build up the trust.
So that's where Alipay started, because Alipay is so much more than that now, isn't it? It's funny how you came up with a solution to a customer problem for a challenge that was something completely different.
Yeah.
And now it's such a big part of your business, Alipay, isn't it?
Yeah. So always it's like that. So, where there is a difficulty or where there is a complaint, there is opportunity, right? So if you solve the problem, and that is the opportunity. So we started from the business to solve the problem. And later we found that there is more need from the customer. They really need, and we can provide. Yeah. So that's I think is always the journey.
And that was such a hard problem to solve too, especially, like how do you get transfer cash for product purchases in a way where people don't have credit cards, across all of China, like that's not a small problem to attack, but it shows the vision. It shows how important this was and how much that you prepared to go to win.
Early days, not easy. Even people should wire their money from post office to Alipay account. Today you cannot imagine that, but at that day, early days really is like that. And in our Alipay office, it's piles of documents of the receipt from the bank. That's really the early days.
How long did it take until you started to catch up to eBay? You started in 2003. You did Alipay 2004. How long until you started to,
3 years we defeat eBay China.
Wow.
Right? So Jack actually, when Jack talked about the story in Wall Street, all the investors ran away. Yeah, they didn't believe Taobao can defeat eBay China, right? So Jack actually very famous quoting, say eBay is like a shark in the ocean, and Taobao is the crocodile in the Yangtze River, right? If we fight in the ocean, we will lose. But we are just fighting in the Yangtze River. We are more familiar about those environment, so we will win, right? So you may find that we have a documentary, and it's telling the story and Taobao period. It's the crocodile in the Yangtze River, which was made by our former vice president of our PR department. Yeah, you can find from YouTube about the documentary.
I'll check that out and make sure we'll put those in the show notes. So you had Alipay, you launched in 2003. How did you actually beat eBay, in 3 years, which is very quick for a company that already has, what did you say? I think like 95% of the market share. And then within 3 years you win. Like, were there any strategies around like expanding the brand, advertising on TV, or so were there things which you had to do to get the brand out there?
I think that two things. What I just mentioned is the instant communication. So better service, right? Communication tool make the customer experience much better. Because eBay actually, they now allow people to have those conversations. So it's by email at that time, right? So this is the service we gave the much better experience. And the other also, like in China, those no one have most people don't credit card. With Alipay give those service. So this is quite critical. For that, we can win that battle. And also for those, we have the 24 hours services. Just make that those also the forum for people talking about the experience in Taobao, and also those some the leader in the social community. They will help us also do the service, telling others how you can shop on Taobao and what's the difficulties, right? So we actually just leverage a lot of just our sellers together in that community at the early days. Yeah.
And so word of mouth was very big for you. People telling other people.
Yeah.
That was huge, it sounds like.
Yeah. And we started from the business for bidding, and even early days, we all the founders found the stuff from home to selling online. And also at that time also my son just only 8 months. I just put his pamper to sell online and a mini washer to sell online. So we have those very interesting experience. But later on, we found that the bidding is not the maybe the way in China. So we build up just for the to selling the products to consumer directly. So you change to that.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, there's so many parts to every one of your stories right now. It's hard to really keep it all focused, but I'm going to continue on. Let's jump because I have to ask you about Jack Ma, because he's so famous. He's got so many stories. Every time that you mention something about him, it sounds so inspirational. What was it like to work so closely with him for so long?
You mean me?
Yeah, you. What was it like for you to work so closely with Jack for so long?
I think I knew Jack before Alibaba. My first job is working in hospitality industry, a 4-star hotel in Hangzhou. Yeah, I was assistant manager, lobby assistant manager, solving all the complaints from the clients. Yeah, so at that time I joined Jack's English club. He was an English teacher at that time. Yeah, so have an English club. So I joined that and knew Jack at that time. In 1999, I think many people heard about the story. He went to Seattle and a sleeplessness in Seattle, right? Met internet and loved the internet at the first sight. And when he back from Seattle and quit his English teacher job, built up the first business, China Yellow Pages, to just, that is like a yellow page, but online. All the information of the business who want to sell the products to the world, to advertise them online, right? But that time, 1995, actually, internet infrastructure has not, it's very poor. When you download a web page, costs 3.5 hours. So how can people believe something called internet? People haven't met, right? So people didn't believe Jack, called liar, cheater. So also very tough. But I made the hotel I worked for be the first client of China Yellow Pages. Yeah, so I just maybe blindly think future, maybe that is something in the future, but not today, right? So that journey also make me one day, I think it's a destiny. I joined Alibaba when Jack invited me in 1999 when I worked in another hotel, be the manager of the front office, right, and leading a group, a team. But Jack actually said, how if you would join Alibaba, you just started from zero, from scratch. Even that today you have a team, right? And even that you ever make our hotel be China Yellow Page the first client, but that's early day, right? Today Alibaba also, you grow very fast. You need to learn a lot of things. So I just start joining Alibaba. 2000 is a millennial year, right? So everything just became zero. So I just choose the day, the first working day in the millennial year, and made me empty the glass and learn from scratch and do the things from scratch. And I think it's really happy journey. Yeah.
What was some of the biggest things that you learned?
I think from Jack, I learned of things always be positive. Jack actually said, we want to recruit people, love smile. Yeah, like if you like smile, you must be a positive people. When you facing the difficulties, you always can find the thing using a positive way, right? So this is thing I keep and maintain always there. And when I be his executive assistant, I also learn a lot to try all the approaches you can, as possible as you can. And sometimes it sounds like sounded like so difficult you could not get through. But when you tried another approach and you found you solve it, and the moment you solve it, you make you really more confident, right? So all the things and before I be the assistant to Jack, in Alibaba, I joined the sales department. I have never done the sales job. And when I started to do that, I also doubt myself. Can I do that? Will I lose it? But eventually that year, I became the top sales, national top sales, the first year top sales in Alibaba history. And that actually made me, actually I can do it, right? And later, when I have the other difficulties, I also will encourage me. When I do sales, I never did it, but I did it. I succeed, right? And why not? I try this one. Even I haven't experienced it before. Why not? I try it. If not, now me. If not, now when? If not me, who? Right? This is also our value, right?
Yeah.
So this is something I think is also positive and give you self-confidence that and will encourage me.
What do you think it was about Jack that led him to grow Alibaba to nearly $1 trillion in value from a small apartment in Hangzhou? He started, because lots of people start in a small apartment, a business, right? Lots of people, everyone that starts a business is normally in a small place. It's in kind of home office or it's like in a small office somewhere. But something about Jack or about the team led to it becoming the size that it is today. So what do you think it was about Jack's leadership or about kind of how he thinks that led to that?
I think he has a dream and then always keep the dream and stick to make the dream be realized. That part is, I think, back to the early days, he even say that Alibaba will be at that time say $5 billion US dollar company. But that's just a company 500,000 RMB, the fund from the pocket money from the founder. How can people believe that? I think many startup company or leader also have the dream. But how can you just inspire people to make the dream be realized? That's very important, right? But teamwork is quite important. So Jack always say, I talk in public, my team make the dream be realized, right? That's a teamwork. That's our teamwork, right? So that's a teamwork between the leader and the team. Right. This is quite important. And Jack always, even in the very early day, he traveled around the world and meet different leaders, different people. And that actually also broadened his vision. Something the team may not have seen, but he has already seen or already have heard. And those things also insights is quite important. And each time when he came back, even, it's Alibaba early day, every year he participate in the Davos Forum. Davos Forum full of all the country leaders there, right? And he will share his experience and the learning insights from those leaders to the team, right? And all the goal, something is really sounds not realistic, but he will have the leadership to make the team gather together, make it happen. And the small success will also give the team the confidence, say, oh, there's something Jack said is something sounds not reasonable, sounds not realistic. Why not we try it? And later on you realized it. And then now, why not the next one, right? Even that is you say, are so ambitious, right? But those ambitious those goals still can be realized. I think is really leadership. You believe the belief, persist to the persistence, and get the team to be done for all those goals. That's this real leadership.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if we have a look at how much has been achieved in the last 20 years, which is not that long, and Alibaba has done some amazing things. The ecosystem, everything about it is vast, to say the least, And so
yes, it came a doubt, right? 21 years, just from a teenager to adult. So still long journey to go.
Still a long journey. Let's jump to Alibaba Australia in New Zealand. So you came here in 2016. What's Alibaba's goal here in Australia?
Well, that's due to one of our Alibaba strategy, globalization. Right? So globalization, for my understanding, is globalization, right? You need to localize for those business, or we need to close to our clients here, and then respect the local culture, respect the those people's insights here, right? So we have the market insights, the local market insights. That's when very important when people go to another market. Yeah, we show our respect. And I think it's also for here, the business go step into China market, into Southeast Asia, also need to understand that market, understand that market culture, right? And then you can do the business successfully, right? But I was appointed 2016, March 2016. Alibaba have so many businesses. So which one we need to step in for the first? I think for globalization, we understand we want to serve 1 billion consumer. We think half is in China, right? Half in China, and those have a strong consumption ability, right? So, and we found many of company, they have a high quality products and will meet those even the middle class people's demand. And Australia and New Zealand, that is really the country, have the country image, clean green, and those very environmental, those products in this market. So and here local business also want to step into China market, right? So we started from this business and using TMall global business to help the local business step into China. And today, more than 2,000 Australian brands, 700 New Zealand brands, they are already on our TMall and TMall global platform. And just a recent Double 11 Global Shopping Festival, Australia ranked the 4th, very stable. And New Zealand catching up year on year, and now is ranked 7th. That is most just popular selling country to China.
Is that festival where in one day you sold 19 billion in sales? Was that festival? Is that the day? Because I saw some it was some sale day and the numbers were very high.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So just for companies that are listening right now, you help companies that have products sell them into China through the TMall marketplace. Is that right?
Yeah, Tmall and Tmall Global.
And so how do you help them? Say, for example, if someone's listening and they're saying, hey, I've got product, I would love to start to see some of that massive demand that's available. How can they take advantage of this? Or how can they get started?
So we have the Tmall Global team in Australia to look after Australian New Zealand market, right? So today several categories are very popular in China market, right? Like the mother and baby products, health supplement products, and the pet food. And personal care, skincare, natural skincare, those products are very popular in China market, right? So in those companies that want to step into China market, they can work with us, right? So if they have already the brand awareness already incubated in China market, they can open the store by themselves, but they still need a partner to help them. Right. In China market, you need a people understand the market better, understand our platform operation better. So we call this the Tmall partner, the TP, right? And we can helping them to even match to the right TP according to their requirement, right? And this is one way. And the other way is if they're not ready for themselves to open the store, they can open also like other maybe sellers already have the presence on Tmall Global, have the store, now helping them to selling their products. You can work with them together, right? And this is for the B2C business opportunity here when you step into China market. And during COVID, I think a lot of SME also suffer to sell the products to the international market. So what I mentioned, B2B is also, I think, is a great opportunity. So we will also we'll do some marketing and some support from our local team to help local business understand this opportunity better. So in next few months, we will also focusing on this part to let local business to selling to all over the world, right? And in the local market, we actually also have the Alipay team to help them to access Chinese users as well. But now it's due to travel ban. Tourists could not be here, but they will anyway. They will be back when the travel ban lifted, right? Yeah. So if you can already get you ready to access Alipay, access Chinese users via Alipay, right? And in also online business, also Alipay will be also help the local business to access Chinese users as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And so jumping back to the TMall partnership, is there a cost, or what is the cost to get started? You know, just for people that are listening that are interested in this, because I know there will be a lot of people that are interested in selling to China. How much does it cost to get started?
TMall partner, they are the third party partner to TMall. So it's not our team, right? It's not a team from Alibaba, the whole ecosystem, but they are in the ecosystem, right? But they are third party one. The different TP, they charge different. And also you may not choose the largest one. You just to choose the right one. And if they have already served your industry and have experience to operate for other brands on our platform, and what's the price, you need to talk with them together. Yeah, so this is the way. And during COVID, it's hard for people to meet the TP face to face. So we have the virtual one, and really found this very helpful and useful, very effective way, even in COVID.
Yeah,
in the virtual one.
Okay, and so if somebody wants to get started, do they go to the TMall website, or how do they find these partners? How do they get started with this process?
Okay, so we have our local team, and you may find our local website, Alibaba madeeasy.com.au. And then you can find the business. There is you just register your information. Our team will contact with them. That is our local team here, right? If you go to the TMall website, that was to our headquarters. So why we will set up our local team, just really, headquarters is too far away, right? So a local team can work closer with our clients. And now COVID is controlled, and you can meet face to face to talk about the opportunity as well. And also pay attention to our Alibaba madeeasy.com.au. We also if we have an event, we will put on this website as well.
Got it. Okay, so go to Alibaba madeeasy.com.au, submit a form, and then someone from your team will contact them, and then they will explain next steps. They can put them in touch with some potential partners, or they can show them the place to go next. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I saw a few case studies on, I think it was Chemist Warehouse has already started to sell into China, and they had some pretty amazing results already. So it's really interesting, the opportunity. And if you do have an e-commerce company, or that you sell product, and especially like any of the products that have just been mentioned by Maggie, I would highly recommend that you check this out, because the volume in China for the right products it's hard to compare. The volume is so different in China compared to small little Australia, right? But can you also help with production as well, or is it just to sell the product? Or is it also some help in producing product too, in the manufacturing process? Or is that different?
So in this market, we help the local business to sell the products on our platform, right? Our new manufacturing team is in China, helping from China first, because that is the best market to test, right? So using those intelligence, right? But we also have the TMall Innovation Center. Some business like Yellowtail is in Australia also worked with us on those innovation and for their production line, right? As well, yeah. So this is the business when you already have a store on TMall, and several years you have already incubate in China market, and also have your own customer intelligence there, and you can think about how to work with us deeper and to do the innovation for your products, new products as well. Yeah. So step by step, many business work with us from one point, right? And you can explore further opportunity in our digital economy. Chemist also actually a few years ago when they work with us in China, no one knew them. But now they are very famous in China. So now they are not only just open a store on TMall Global, but also they have an offline store just in Bondi Warehouse, right? Offline store too now. And here also they work with Alipay together. So and you can in the pharmacy, I can use the Alipay to purchase the products as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how it would start with one thing is like, let me see how I can sell into China. And then all of a sudden the excitement starts when you start to see the impact of this opportunity that it is, you know? And I think,
that's the beauty to work with Alibaba.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to your values and your vision to help and to make a difference for small to medium enterprises, right? Or is if you can help them become a lot more successful, you will become a lot more successful. And so what I keep hearing through this whole conversation is how much you put into helping smaller businesses become successful. Yeah. It's not just trying to take the fees or whatever. It's helping them. Because if they can make money, and if you can help everybody make more money through a better consumer experience and through access to a larger consumer community, then Alibaba continues to achieve its vision of lasting 102 years.
Yeah, you understand us very well. Our value, customer first, employee second, shareholder the third. So even the early days when Jack wanted to find the investor, also it is very important to emphasize that. So some of the investors say, customer and investor the third. So why I need to invest you? Jack said, you can sell your stock immediately. Yeah, we just believe if customer happy, employee happy, investor eventually will be happy. Yeah, because the customer is already got we have already created value to them, right?
Yeah, it's such a good point. And, you know, I'm inspired by just how strong the vision is and how strong the beliefs are in Alibaba, you know, and it sounds like it is now part of the DNA. It is part of the culture. You know, I tried to understand at the beginning of this, the goal for me was to understand how Alibaba started in some small apartment and became this huge conglomerate that it is today. And it's complex, but it's also simple. It's simple in the vision. It's simple in the values. It's simple in the commitment to the consumer and trying to do the best thing for them, you know, and putting them number one. And, you know, I'm certainly, I'm grateful for this conversation. I appreciate the time that you've taken to share the experiences and to share kind of how Alibaba succeeded like in those early days all the way up to today. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a very enjoyable conversation today.
Thanks, Alex, for having me. I'm also very happy to talk with you as well.
Yeah, and for anyone that has a product, you got to check it out. You have to go to alibabamadeeasy.com.au and just have a conversation and see where it leads.
Thank you. We are right here waiting for you.
Cool.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks so much, Maggie. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Growth Manifesto podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. For more episodes, please visit growthmanifesto.com/podcast. And if you need help driving growth for your company, please get in touch with us at webprofits.io.